Last time, this hand was just metal armature and some metal sheet, and I had an awful lot of work to do. I'm not saying it's finished yet, but I'm getting there, thanks to photographs taken of my own hand. Although it's old and wrinkly, I needed to know the shape of the bones and things, so we're getting there. I thought we were getting there until a disaster happened. I'd worked and worked and worked for, I'm not telling you how many hours, on the hand and the fingers and getting it all the right position. Got this with a little bit of clay on the front and the back, fixed it on the hand, and the whole hand went. So that's why she looks like she's got a walking stick. In fact, that's a prop that's having to hold her hand and the census form up from looking like absolutely broken. But that won't be there in the finished figure. That's just there to stop. The clay is very, very heavy, and it's going to get heavier when I start to make the mould, and it's got the rubber on and it's got the resin jacket on. It will just need this anyway by then. Probably that hand I'll have a prop under when I'm starting to make the mould, but that's a different story. Anyway, it's taking shape, and I'm quite pleased with the look of it, and hope you are. Now the shoulder, you remember last time I was talking about I wanted the shoulder to be up, and I was going to put folds and things in the jacket, but I was having a battle with it, and I thought, if I'm having a battle with it, maybe it won't be fully understood by the public when they see, and they won't understand why she's looking a little bit like Quasimodo. So she's now got a normal shoulder, and it still works. In fact, I think it works much better matching this shoulder here, and we don't have to have an explanation about the shoulder anymore. They'll look at the person. Now I'm going to talk to you about her face and head and hat and what I've been working on here. In a previous video we talked about the face was almost finished, but in fact I have spent many more hours on it, and I'm happier with the face now, working on the character. I think I should actually point out, when I'm working on her, because I've done a lot of reading about her and I know a lot about her history, I'm thinking about her as a person all the time I'm working, which I think helps me, I hope, capture the person that she is. And the eyes, to me, in a sculpture are very, very important, because people will sit on the bench and they will look into her eyes. So they've got to work, and they've got to, I want people to get to know Emily, to want to know Emily, to want to know her more as a person. The hat is finished. We talked about having lots of flowers around it, but I felt that actually having all the flowers around it and everything else that's going on would be too much. What was definitely shown in the photograph is she did have flowers on the front. So she's got flowers on the front of her hat. She's got the rim, which shows up in the photograph. She's got the dent in the top, and I've given the whole of the hat texture so you can see that it's made of straw. Her hair I've also been working on. Oh, and her ears, they're taking shape. Still a little bit more work to do, but I'm quite pleased the way that the hair's going. It's growing okay, that side. I've got more work to do here. It's sort of plonked on a bit, but it's got to look like it's actually growing out of her head, and not just, the lines aren't quite right there. So watch this space. Yesterday you'd have found me grovelling on the floor, sometimes lying on a cushion, sometimes lying on the actual floor, and worst of all, certainly for my back, was underneath this bench trying to work on the back of the skirt. Now the back of the skirt, I discovered, I've got some more work to do on that, because the bench that she's actually sitting on is going to be that much thicker than the bench she's sitting on here. So I've got to attach some more wood across here from there to that support across there. Then I can rework the skirt as it hangs, and then it doesn't go underneath the bench until it's the new thickness. Otherwise we'll cast it in bronze, try and set it on site, and it wouldn't fit on the bench. So all these sort of things come out in the wash, and we have to sort them out, we hope, in the early stages rather than the later stages. She's now got a foot. Only one foot shows, and that's designed to be so behind where the skirt is coming out. The reason being is health and safety. If you're walking past the sculpture and you've got the foot sticking out, then it's just waiting there to trip people up as they're walking past. So I needed the foot to show she was a real person. Funnily enough, as soon as I put her shoe, her boot, I had a boot to work on and felt that it was, I stood back and looked and I thought, now she looks like she's a real person and she's actually sitting there just one foot. And then I was working on here, working on the shoulder and everything. I accidentally banged into her and immediately said, oh, sorry. Now that is a telling point when I'm doing sculptures, that as soon as I apologise to the sculpture, I know it must be taking shape and becoming more of the person that I am trying to show. Another challenge I have is not only have I got to capture the figure and the personality of Emily, I also have to do some of her favourite things. There's going to be sitting on the bench beside her on her left-hand side, which will help tell people the story and understand her much better. Now, she actually gained 2 university degrees, honours, first class honours. So she used to wear a mortarboard. I've been kindly lent this by Epsom players. She wore a mortarboard whenever she marched with the suffragettes in London. She wore a mortarboard and gown. She's not portrayed wearing that, but I wanted to show the mortarboard because that tells you an awful lot about her. She had to work very hard. She gained the degrees, but she wasn't ever presented with them because she was a woman. So on the bench beside her, we'll have a mortarboard. Now, it'll be on a couple of her favourite books. It will also have part of the sash draping down to add a bit more form and help tell the story, because she was trying to put the sash on the horse's bridle at the racecourse. Now, I can't take a mould of the actual mortarboard because the rubber would totally ruin it. Therefore, I've had to make an armature for the mortarboard out of some old milk bottle, plastic milk carton and some metal. So, sort of like a mortarboard. It'll look more like a mortarboard when it's got clay on it and when it's balanced on the books. So we won't use the real one. We'll be using that, balanced on the books. Don't quite know how I'm going to do the tassel yet. I'll do something with clay. It'll look okay. And the sash, as I say, coming down. And anyway, that will help you understand and tell her story. Rather like an oil painting, puts all sorts of things into it. This sculpture is going to have everything to tell you the full story of Emily. Definitely next time, well, let's not say definitely, I hope that she's going to be wearing a medal, because someone has got me a medal. It's not a real one because that's probably about £40,000 worth. This is an imitation one, but it says on it, Hunger Strike, engraved on it. It's got the bands there, lovely textured, and it says on the top, for valour. And also, it's long enough for me to unpick the stitching and make it longer, because this is textured ribbon, and I'm going to put 7 bands to represent the 7 times that she was imprisoned. This is going to fix there for valour, and it'll come down to about there with the bands on it. And I'm thrilled because I haven't got to spend hours making a Hunger Strike circle and cutting into it. So thank you, wonderful, great help. Then I'm going to have the prison badge there, the Holloway prison badge there in that smoother area of her tie. And her, looks a bit like a prefect's badge actually, shape, but that's her suffragette badge will go on there. Now that's the reason I'm not putting her buttons, because I want these to be more important than buttons on her jacket. So it's just a loose fitting jacket, doesn't need to do up. Anyway, looks like I'm going to have an awful lot of work to do. It's going to take me ages to do the Hunger Strike. I haven't got an imitation one of those. No, not the Hunger Strike. Yes, all the medals. So think of me working away to get all the detail done.